Hello and welcome to our review of Veronica Mars. I'm Paul,
And I'm Dave.
and this week we are discussing the episode You Think You Know Somebody. This episode
Hmm.
originally aired October 26th, 2004. Let us start off with the number one song in America, Dave. Any guesses?
Hmm.
It is a different song
Throwback.
than last time.
Okay. Still a mild case of around that time. Uh, if it's not them, nah, that would have been too far back. Around that time. Like the only thing that's supposedly coming to mind is supposedly something maybe by Green Day or some other particular band. I can't name a particular song from them to try and make a logistic guess.
You're in the right era for Green Day, but unfortunately, no. It is a song called My Boo by Usher and Alicia Keys.
Uh, like certain cases, I know that song, but it's kind of the case of the mind's doing everything in its power to repress it down. It's like it can't come back up again.
Number one film in America, and I will give you a hint, it is seasonally appropriate for October. It also has the star of a series that we've covered previously.
Oh, wouldn't it have been around that time? Why the hell am I thinking of that particular one? Like the particular thing that's coming to my mind is a spooky horror sort of movie. Again, I'm not exactly sure of the specific genre of it. That goes by Slither.
No, it's not Slither. Slither, I want to say, is quite a ways after this.
Okay.
Slither is 2006, so you're not far off, actually. I thought it was farther
Okay.
out than that.
Again, your second hint kind of threw me with one particular thing with that, and it was kind of like that's all the brain could think.
So it is The Grudge.
No, that's understandable.
It's a movie.
Also, the case I've heard about it, but I probably haven't seen the movie in full.
You have seen it because we covered it last year for Horror 101.
Maybe that was it.
Yes, and it
God, I'm
stars it stars Sarah
I'm
Michelle Gellar in the lead.
Yes, with those ones there. And sadly, it's getting confused with the stupid, scary movie parody that it has within it. And it's like, oh dear God, what has that movie been reduced to?
Alrighty, and for video games, let's quickly take a look here and see what we can find. Well, there's not a whole lot. Well, actually, there is kind of, and also kind of not.
Kind of the marvelous case of a lot was released. A lot of it is shovelware.
Not really a lot was released, but like a lot of it's kind of meh,
Mm.
except for like two games.
Meh.
So October 20th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Ape Escape Pumped and Primed, which I
Yeah,
can't imagine that was a good Ape Escape.
yeah. It's kind of one of the ones, if it was there, you had better options, but it was there.
October 20th, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Tron 2.0.
Yeah.
You could pick up a Tron game. I mean that. Okay.
Like certain aspects, it's understandable, but it also wasn't the release of the super big Tron reboot birth thing that happens the couple years from now and or the couple years back, and it's just kind of
October 22nd, if you were in Europe and you're a PC gamer, you could pick up a game called Sacred Plus.
supposed yay.
Looks like
That's
it was a action role playing game developed by a German company. It did get a release worldwide, but I don't remember this game at all.
yeah, no, I've got nothing.
October 25th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Ace Combat 5, The Unsung War.
No, understandable. Again, never gotten into flight simulators.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Mm.
Also on October 25th, if you had an Xbox, you weren't left out because you could pick up Outrun 2. Well, maybe you were left out then.
Supposedly, like even knowing with like one or two of the specific franchise on the Xbox at the time, it's like I do not know that one.
I feel like it was probably an okay game. It's just like it was a weird choice to make a sequel to Outrun in 2004.
Yeah, yeah.
October 26th, the day this episode aired, you had some big options. So, if you had an Xbox, you could pick up Dead or Alive Ultimate, which, fine.
It's dead or alive.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Also on the same day, if you're a PC gamer, you could pick up Star Wars Galaxies Jump to Lightspeed, which was some kind of MMO for 2004. I don't ask me anything about it because I do not know.
Yeah, ditto. And also kind of the case of it was around that time. Around that marvelous time when everyone and their grandma was trying to make an MMO.
Yes, because World of Warcraft had been very successful and everybody wanted a piece of that pie.
Yeah.
Or was World of Warcraft out yet? When is
I
World
think
of
so.
Warcraft? Oh, yeah, 2004. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 2004. Oh, but it hasn't come out yet. It's in November.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, it's not out yet.
Hmm.
Also on October 26th, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Yu-Gi-Oh! Destiny Board Traveler. Don't ask me, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, just from the sound of it, it might have been one of those crazy offshoots of it wasn't actually a card game. It was that incredibly weird dice-based card game that they had within the show.
No idea. October 26th, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Grand Theft Auto Advance, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like a remake of the Grand Theft Auto 2 on the Game Boy Advance.
Okay, because my first thought was like, yeah, this isn't like Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto. This is like beginnings Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Apparently it's a new game and it's a prequel to Grand Theft Auto 3, but it's in the style of 1 and 2. And finally, the big release for this time, on October 26th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up this little game that nobody remembers called Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody remembers that game.
Nope, not at all. It came and went and didn't make any impact and isn't one of the most well-regarded games of all time. Except that you just had to follow the damn train, CJ. Now that I've triggered our entire audience,
Yes.
let us move on to this episode. Alrighty. So, the episode opens in Tijuana, Mexico, where we see Luke, Troy, and Logan. They're in a car and they cross the U.S.-Mexican border. After stopping at a diner, they notice that their car is missing, which is actually Troy's father's car. However, Veronica pulls up and takes them back home. After returning home, Logan and Luke leave, while Veronica offers to help Troy find his father's car, an offer which he eventually accepts. While Veronica searches for Troy's car, she playfully teases Wallace and talks to him about potential birthday presents for Keith. Later, Veronica checks her dad's voicemail and hears a message from the school guidance counselor, Rebecca, whom Keith has been dating. Meanwhile, Luke is being interrogated and threatened by Hank Zygmunt. He tells Hank that he will have his package, which is in Troy's car, tomorrow. Veronica tells Keith that she's figured out his relationship with Rebecca, and he says that he is enjoying it. The next day, Luke tells Veronica that there was a pinata of steroids in the backseat of the car, and he needs to get it to Hank Zygmunt, or Hank will punish him severely. Veronica reluctantly agrees to help. Veronica goes to a bank and tells the teller about the safe deposit key she found in her mom's old stuff. In it, Veronica finds secret photos of herself with a bullseye on them. Later, Rebecca shows up to talk to Veronica outside of school, and Veronica treats the idea with sarcasm. Shocking, I know. Luke is chased by the drug dealers. The next day, Veronica confronts Logan about his steroid plan. Veronica finds Rebecca in their kitchen, but Veronica says she has to leave before Rebecca can actually make dinner. At the junkyard, Weevil talks to a worker, Angel, who says that Troy's car has already come and gone. Veronica confronts Luke in the women's bathroom, and she tells him that he needs to collect $8,000 himself to pay Zygmunt back. Veronica sends disposable cell phones to Leanne, that's her mother, friends, and family in an effort to let her know that it is okay to call her. Later, Veronica requests her dad's help in finding Troy's car. He agrees if Veronica will be nice to Rebecca. The next day, Keith goes to the car tracking company and poses as a high ranking executive. The boss reluctantly does a scan. Veronica hands her dad a background check she did on Veronica and that she has a criminal record. This leads to an increasingly heated debate in which Veronica eventually brings up her mother. Veronica sobs after the argument settles down. Later, Veronica and Troy track the car, which they find is actually a tracker attached to a dog. The next day, Keith hands Veronica a background check he did on Troy. In addition, Keith tells Rebecca that they need to break up for Veronica's sake. Veronica confronts Troy about his past, which includes expulsion from 2 schools due to drug trafficking and possession. She also believes that he has something to do with the steroids. Troy says that he would have told her about his crimes when they got to know each other better, and he storms off, leaving Veronica to look on in despair. Veronica confronts Hank Zygmunt and hands him the $8,000, but he still says that they're not even. Veronica claims that he will eventually regret that moment. She then uses an image of Zygmunt she took with her phone for an unknown purpose. Troy's father sends Troy off in a cab angrily. Troy's taxi stops at the restaurant in Tijuana where he originally lost the car. Troy is then seen pulling out in the stolen car. He talks to a girl named Shauna, with whom he had previously conspired, and she tells him that Veronica called and she accidentally revealed their whole plan to Veronica. It turns out that Veronica replaced the steroids with candy and left a sarcastically angry letter for Troy. Zygmunt is arrested at the US-Mexico border using the photo that Veronica took. That night, Veronica receives a call from her mother, who says that she misses her, but that Veronica cannot and will not find her. Unfortunately, Veronica is asleep at the time, and the message goes to voicemail. Yes. So, what did you think of this episode, Dave?
I thought it was really interesting, especially with this one's particular style, that a lot of the specific stuff didn't exactly end in the best way for the person that originally went to Veronica at the start of it. And then also the case of the rest of the storyline kind of going on with, I believe it's Keith with the names.
Her dad? Yeah, that's Keith.
Oh, okay, good. More the boyfriend, if
Troy.
that was Troy. Thank you. With Troy and her still having the relationship, but also kind of the case of she finds out some information about him, makes some decent points that's like, hey, would have told you if we gotten to know each other better, but then just, yeah, you're still a peddling drug dealer and whatnot with all the stuff in the end. It's like, ha ha ha, jerk.
Yes, I do like how they kind of pull that on us where, like, you could argue that, like, it's kind of cheap because they never really give us any hints about it, but I like how it's done because it feels like it normally this is something I would complain about because, like, it's like, oh, well, they didn't give us a chance to figure it out, but I'm like, I'm okay with it because I feel like we're supposed to see this from Veronica's perspective where she probably wouldn't have picked up on those things.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
it's one of those particular things that I can understand that in some sort of cases, it's usually good to at least leave a breadcrumb or two for the audience to either follow along if they have the knowledge enough or perception to sort of see the particular things laid out within the show. But sometimes it's also good to leave that surprise for them, to have them come back and be like, oh man, what's going to happen next with things that are going on. It's a bit of a tricky line to walk, but on whole, it turns out well. It turns out well.
Yeah, and I think it also helps that he hasn't been around for super long. Like, it's only been a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we spent a ton of time with this person and all of a sudden there's this big betrayal. It's like, well, no, it's been like 3 episodes. Yeah. So, any other thoughts about this episode?
I think the particular thing, like just a tiny thing that when first seeing the thing, I thought one thing, but then thinking about it, it's like, no, that actually makes decent enough sense. Was there was a scene with the young student that went to Veronica that he's going home, gets dropped off, but then the muscle man Hank.
Oh, what's his name? Yeah, Hank Zygman.
Yeah, with Zygmunt pulls up in a vehicle, comes out, and the boy books. And we have a bit of a chase sequence, and they're running off and whatnot from there. And he just books it. And then after the second fence or two, the bodybuilder stops and then just shouts off at him. And the first thought is like, man, with how things are sort of within the show, he could have gotten at least a little bit closer. But then on the other hand, it's like, not a realistic situation just with the amount of fear that kid's experiencing. No, he would lose him in an instant.
Yeah, and I also thought that scene was like done really well. Like the chase scene is, it's like, it's a pretty good chase scene for a TV show on UPN in 2004.
Mm,
Like it's shot pretty well, and I'm like, oh, like this is kind of fun. Like it's not super long, but it's a
mm,
fun enough little like minute scene.
okay.
Yeah. So, if there's nothing else about this episode, next week we'll be discussing Return of the Cane. That's gotta be Kane.
Uh, no. Supposedly thought I had a line, but yeah, nothing's coming.
In this episode, Veronica investigates a potentially rigged student election after her ex-boyfriend Duncan Kane wins over a more popular candidate, Wanda Werner. Meanwhile, Logan faces the consequences of running an illegal boxing ring, which brutally pits homeless people against each other, and Veronica investigates Lily Kane's murder further. Dun dun dun. So, until next week, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.